weather forecaster practically at Pittsburgh institution. The news of his lung cancer diagnosis shocked and saddened all of us. But Joe DeNardo is here today to tell us about his pride. Welcome to you.
Thank you.
Back with you.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
I'm doing really fantastic.
No feelings of any effect of surgery? Or, people probably will want to know because, my gosh, you look like Joe. You look great.
Well, if I have any after effects, I don't think I could run a marathon with one lung. But other than that, I feel just great, and I walk a mile and a half every day on a treadmill, which I never did before I had this problem. And any problem at all, it's trying to keep my weight down. That's my biggest problem right now.
So you still have an appetite?
Absolutely. And oncologists like that. They like to see cancer patients gain weight, and surgeons don't like that. Right? But that's my only problem. I feel just great.
Terrific. That is good news.
It is.
So let's take it back to when either you had a suspicion or a doctor gave you a diagnosis. Where would you like to pick up?
Well, I get an annual checkup every year. Every year I get this annual. And about a week before it was scheduled, I noticed I coughed and I spit up some blood. And I learned, but I had doctor's appointments, so I went to the doctor. I get an X-ray every year, and along with blood work and what have you. And the doctor, my primary care physician, called the house one day and told my wife I was at work. I got time, so we were on the phone this long. I don't want you down. I went to some time for me to call him. He called one day, and then it was a pulmonary specialist. And they went in and checked to see just what I did have. And went inpatient, and diagnosed they were there. They did a biopsy, it was malignant. And when I did the test, and then when they told me exactly what the situation was, they asked me, my primary care physician said, do you want a second opinion? I said, absolutely, and who I wanted to for the opinion. And it just happened to be Pittsburgh. And I went there and what have you. And I met a physician, a surgeon, and an oncologist who I had the utmost confidence in. And boy, that's the best.
You got the team.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then the first time I went to surgery, and I was on the operating table with him in charge, was no more than maybe 3 weeks. With all the tests, and I had a cardiologist here. They wanted to make sure I could through it and what have you. And diagnosed on July 6th. What's when they started on along, and I was operated on August 14th.
So let me take you just to that window of time and ask you, you're a total in the saddle kind of guy. You're macho, you're strong, and you've been a beacon of light and strength under rough weather standards. And what was it like those weeks?
Well, I'll tell you something. I actually surprised myself. I never thought I could handle this. I really did. You don't know what a shock it is when somebody tells you you have cancer. And my mental makeup, I could never, ever think I could handle something like this. The body in the mind does wonderful things under distance and pressure. I think I handled it well. Now, some people may disagree, but I didn't tell anyone at the station except management because I didn't want anyone to start talking to me. If somebody said, you're going to be all right, I think I broke down. I really, and no one at the station knew until the day before I was going to be operated on. And that's when they told all the employees, and that's when I went on the air and told the public I wasn't going to be on air for a while and live. I told them I was going to be operated on. But I went through primary care physician, surgeon, oncologist. You have absolute confidence in these people. And they know what they're doing, and you better believe they know what they're doing, otherwise you're in major trouble. That's what brought me through. I did not think I could handle it. I was shocked the way I handled this thing.
But you obviously stayed focused. You assembled the team that you felt good about.
Yes.
So that you would have the confidence to go through with what was going to be in the future.
I want you to know how confident I felt. The night before my operation, Thursday night, when I went on the air and I told people I was going to be operated on, I had lung cancer, so on, so on, so on. I had a good night's sleep. And I got up the next morning at 5 o'clock. I was out at Oakland at 7, and I think I was operated on by 8:30. And I was able to handle that night before even went to sleep. It's remarkable. I don't know how I did it. Well, I do know. It was the people I was dealing with constantly.
You had your support team in place.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, when we come back, we'll meet Joe's doctors and get their forecast on lung cancer treatments for Pittsburgh patients. And, of course, Joe's staying with us, too. You please stay with us. When it comes to lung cancer, aggressive treatment is often the name of the game. We're talking with WQED meteorologist Joe DeNardo about his battle with lung cancer, and we're joined by Doctors James Lukatich and Chandra Balani. They are the co-directors of the University of Pittsburgh Cancer Institute's Lung Cancer Center. Welcome to both of you. Thanks for joining us. All right, so when we left off, you were headed into surgery.
Right.
Walked in the door that morning, boom, you go into surgery.
That's right.
Dr. Lukatich, anything unusual about how things progressed in the OR?
No, it was the location of Joe's tumor was, we knew up front that it wasn't going to be a simple removal of a very small part of the lung. We anticipated that it was going to require the removal of most likely the entire left lung.
A quick, very simple anatomical diagram here that we can just do with hands. So the lungs are kind of like balloons, right? And they come down to the neck.
It comes down to almost like the roots of a tree. And if that tumor is very close to the central root, well, of course, then you need to take the entire lung. So this was a centrally located tumor, not a particularly large tumor, but its location was very central. Not
always the case, though, that a lung has to be taken.
No. In fact, if it's a peripheral lesion, sometimes we can remove just a small piece of the lung, or a lobe, we call it.
We're always hearing now about minimally invasive surgery. Did you employ any of those techniques in Joe's case?
We did. The removal of the entire lung can't be done through very tiny incisions in terms of 1 inch or so. But this was probably about a quarter of the size of the routine incision. Joe, how big was your incision approximately?
I'd say maybe, what, 4 inches?
Yeah, about 4 inches. And I would say the standard incision is probably 8, 10 inches, a major posterior lateral thoracotomy. But as part of the minimally invasive center, we found that indeed many of these operations can be done through smaller and smaller operations. And as you know, it's affecting surgery for heart disease and a number of other areas as well. So much like the gallbladder operation is done through Band-Aids, we're moving to smaller and smaller incisions. And in Joe's case, I do think that it helped his recovery. And intraoperatively, it was entirely clear that the left lung had to be removed. Fortunately, the tumor had not spread to the central lymph nodes, which would have meant a much more complicated course, I think, for Joe.
But he hung tough during surgery. It all went well?
He did.
No complications?
No complications.
But there was a second shock wave after that surgery.
Probably the biggest shock wave. After the operation, Dr. Lukatich came in and he informed me he had something like 17 biopsies that he performed, and there was one cancer cell that showed up outside the tumor.
One lousy little cell.
And that took me from a stage 1, I guess, to an early stage 2.
That's right.
And then stage left enters Dr. Balani,
who delivered the shock wave, right?
Well, yes. It is a scary feeling when an oncologist comes in to a patient's room who has had a complete surgical resection for lung cancer and tells them that there may be a need for further therapy, which may include chemotherapy and radiation therapy. It always is a little bit scary feeling.
Psychologically, that first hurdle was the surgery. You come through it with flying colors. Yes. You're feeling good and strong, and you think
I had never heard about chemotherapy through this whole discussion with Dr. Lukatich. Never heard a word about it.
Why was it so shocking to you to have that recommendation offered?
Well, it was an option, and they wouldn't tell me to do it, which kind of upset me at that point in time. It had to be my decision. And the reason it was such a shock, you've heard all these horror stories about chemotherapy. Sure. And that's what shocked me. And I kept talking to him, and I didn't want to go ahead and second-guess myself down the road. So I said, well, okay. I asked Dr. Lukatich, I said, what if I were your dad? What would you say? He said, it doesn't work that way. He said, this has to be your decision. They didn't have enough data to say, we can't tell you whether it'll help you, it won't hurt you, but we can't tell you this is going to do any good. But because of what we found, we're going to give you this option. And that's how it all started.
How many treatments?
He had treatment for about 6 weeks. So he had a weekly treatment of chemotherapy along with simultaneous radiation therapy.
Was this the mildest regimen?
It is the regimen that we have developed here at the University of Pittsburgh Cancer Institute. And the weekly regimens of the newer agents, especially the taxanes with the platinum compounds, along with radiation therapy, in our early experience have shown to have a better outlook for patients such as Joe. And these regimens are much better tolerated than what they used to be in the past. And thus they are associated with very minimal side effects. And that's what we thought Joe would encounter while he would take chemotherapy. So actually we laid his fears to rest to a certain extent. But as you can tell, that lung cancer is not a surgical disease anymore, and it requires integration of various modalities of treatment.
Well, and people think check into the hospital, have to go through this. You were doing this on an outpatient basis.
That's right, chemotherapy and radiation. Radiation every day for 6 weeks, as an outpatient, however, yes.
Side effects?
Radiation, the best way to explain the side effects from radiation was if you had an ice-cold glass of water, and it was in the heat of the summer and you were thirsty and you started to drink it down, all of a sudden you get a pain going through there because it's so cold. That was the side effects I had from radiation. Chemotherapy, on the 4th one, I had some side effects later that night, and it felt like your body had the flu. It lasted 12 hours, and that was it. But the most important thing, as I look back, is there was a team here. And one started it, brought the other one in, and between the two of them, they got me through this thing.
I want to ask you a totally superficial question here.
Sure.
You didn't lose your hair?
No, I did not.
You didn't feel like you couldn't move or were so tired or fatigued or wiped out that you didn't have a quality life during that treatment course?
Well, it wasn't the best in the world, but the most I could say was maybe I was fatigued at times. But they told me I wouldn't lose my hair. Dr. Blaney says, you won't lose your hair. It may thin a little bit, but it'll come in even better.
Is that with these new drugs?
But the way they are administered, usually in the past the chemotherapy was administered as one shot, given once every 3 to 4 weeks as cycles. And now with the kinder, gentler regimen that we have developed, administered weekly, though we are able to administer the same doses of the drugs, we are able to see that actually primarily they are given so that the quality of life is better and there is much better control of the patient.
Which is wonderful. I mean, that's wonderful information for people.
Absolutely.
Doing well now?
Great, great. The only problem I have is little weight, because I only have one lung, and I can't. The more weight I carry around, the more difficult it is. Dr. Lukic says, bring the weight down. Dr. Blaney says, it's nice to see a cancer patient gaining weight. So between the two, I try to keep it down.
Convenient dispute.
Yes.
That is during the course of chemotherapy. We don't want our patients to lose weight.
And very quickly, Joe has stressed over and over again in our conversation the importance of putting together a team that one can have confidence in. Congratulations to both of you for giving him that. But what is most significant about assembling that team?
Well, I think it allows us to have a group of experts in various disciplines all together, and that's what the Pittsburgh Cancer Institute is all about, is bringing people together like Chandra and I to better, I think, deliver this continuity of care that's so important to a patient going through what Joe went through. To have that teamwork, I think it gives them a special security.
Golf game better or worse?
It's not good enough to give up my day job. It's not bad.
Thank
you. I
you.
still play golf.
It's good to see you.
Thank you. It's nice to be here and with these gentlemen.
Good to have had you join us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to tune in next week for a look at men and osteoporosis. That's unusual, huh? We'll also find out what your body is trying to tell you when pleasant dreams turn into frightening nightmares. In the meantime, send your health-related questions to UPMC Health News, WQED, Pittsburgh, 4802 5th Avenue, Pittsburgh, PA, 15213. Or you can send us an email to healthnews@wqed.org. We'll do our best to answer your questions on an upcoming show. UPMC Health News will be back next Saturday at 6, Sunday at noon. Until then, I'm Devlin. Have a healthy week ahead. Good day.